Get ready for a delicious blast from the past as we recreate 5 iconic dinners from the 90s that are all about comfort and convenience. I'm starting with what is probably the most iconic food of the 90s, shake and bake. Because it's shake and bake, and I helped. Got me some boneless, skinless pork chops. I'm gonna make the mixture in this bowl just so you can see everything well, but you know it goes in a bag so we can shake it up. Starts with dried breadcrumbs, just the plain breadcrumbs. And then you go in with oil. This might sound weird to go into this like dried mixture, but it's gonna help everything stick. And then we just start going in with a whole bunch of spices. In goes some salt, and then paprika. This is gonna help kind of give it that good color. And also celery salt. This has great flavor. Another salt component is garlic salt. I think this is just a 90s ingredient. I don't ever buy garlic salt anymore because you always have garlic powder and you have salt. So you don't need to pay for salt in this little thing. It takes up half of the mixture when you could get, for the same price, all garlic powder. A little bit of pepper. Then we're also adding minced dried garlic and dried onions. These are pretty easy to find, but if you don't want to buy these, you can just add in some extra garlic powder. And then it's just a pinch of some herbs. This is just going to kind of add little flecks of color in there. And it's parsley, oregano, and basil. So, I mean, that's the combination. You might have thought you were making seasoned breadcrumbs in the past, but I bet the ingredient you might have missed is the oil, which is going to be key. I did a little poll on my Instagram asking, you know, what is the most iconic dinner of the 90s? Hands down, number one answer is shake and bake. I wonder if you can guess throughout this what I'm going to be making next to see if you're right on what other iconic foods we've got. So add your shake and bake to a bag. Then in goes our pork chops. Shake and bake. Lightly breaded pork chop. Oh, the 90s were so good. Especially the music. Am I right? Shake and bake says you just put it on the pan and bake it. All of a sudden this feels very unhinged to not grease this pan or put some parchment down. But we are cooking like the 90s, so into the oven we go, 400 degrees for like 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe we've been complicating things for the past 30 years. It's smelling good. Look at our shake and bake pork chops. They are cooked. It only takes about 15 minutes. I'm also about to serve these up 90s style. Mashed potatoes and gravy, because duh. And then an ode to my dad, the LeSueur pea. These were considered fancier than any other green pea and top tier, okay, when it comes to canned green peas, the LeSueur. So this is what we are serving up. I mean, one time my mom even wrapped up a box of them from Costco for my dad for Christmas. And that's a true story. All right, and then the star of the show on top. The shake and bake isn't as crunchy as I remember. I don't know if we just need to double it up or stick it in a skillet. I mean, it's cooked perfectly though. That is a really good recipe. Perfectly balanced, season-wise. People say they can't cook pork chops because they always dry out. I didn't even put anything on the pan and they came out perfectly. And you're gonna wanna make this one. We are off to a fabulous start. A totally awesome start. Or is that the 80s? Nothing says 90s quite like Chicken Divan. This is a specialty. My mom used to make it. Chicken Divan is a creamy, rich chicken dish that has a hint of curry powder. If it doesn't have the hint of curry, to me, it is not Chicken Divan. And it has broccoli, and then it's usually served over rice. The version I'm making is built as a casserole in one dish with the rice on the bottom, so you don't have to do anything separately. You start with 2 cups of cooked rice. Now, I can promise my mom would have just made like instant rice. Next goes the broccoli. Recipe calls for frozen broccoli, so that's what I'm gonna do because I also think that's what every mom in the 90s would do. Plus, as this cooks, the moisture is going to come out from the broccoli, helping create a little sauce in here. Then you just take cooked chicken. We feel like it is iconic to be diced. You could also shred it here, and then you just make a sauce to pour over. It's 2 cans of cream of chicken. The food of the 90s may not have been the healthiest. However, we were active back then, at least as kids. We were outside all day. I feel like we made up for it, you know, everything in balance and moderation. Also, we just didn't know very much back then. It was all about being fat-free. Speaking of fat-free, in goes a cup of mayonnaise, a little bit of lemon juice, and some curry powder. A little bit goes a long way. You don't want it to be overwhelming because then the kids won't eat it. or at least my son. He'll be like, what is that weird flavor? It'll be like the most delicious thing ever. And that's it. And we just spread that right over. And then a topping of cheddar cheese. And the thing about like Chicken Divan, it just sounded fancy. And that is like a lot of foods from this time period. Things that just kind of sounded a little fancier than they actually are. Okay, and then finally, a topping of breadcrumbs. The recipe just calls for soft breadcrumbs. So we've just taken some day-old bread, and I just gotta mix it with a little melted butter. It just goes into the oven, 350 for about 30 minutes. It smells delicious. The yellowish tint on top is thanks to the curry powder. When it cooks mixed with that cream of chicken, that's the iconic Chicken Divan. Gonna garnish with a little fresh parsley. I feel like parsley was the only fresh herb anyone used. Oh yeah, creamy, hot, cheesy Chicken Divan. It's divine. It's the curry powder, it just takes you back. The cream of chicken, the mayonnaise kind of adds just like a hint of tang in there. It's rich, but it's not overwhelming. And of course, I love having your meat, your starch, and your veggie all in one dish. If you haven't had this in a while, or if you're not familiar with Chicken Divan, you gotta try it. This is $19.91 on a plate. The next most popular answer I got, sloppy joes. So that's what we're making. I love a sloppy joe, and I can't remember a night when we had a babysitter and we didn't either have sloppy joes or pizza. Of course, we are not going to use the can of manwich that my mom would have used. We're gonna make our own, because you know how to open a can of manwich. It is as simple as heating up your skillet and adding in some ground beef. Once this starts to get brown, I'll go in with some onion and bell pepper. All right, all that's looking good. Now we make our sloppy joe sauce. The base is, of course, ketchup. To that, you gotta go with a little mustard. The recipe just calls for a teaspoon. I like it a little tangier, so I'm gonna go with a little more. A little sweet, some brown sugar, a little garlic powder, and a little salt and pepper. And then I like to add just a couple dashes of Worcestershire. See, you've got everything to make sloppy joes at home. At this point, we're gonna cover it and just let it simmer for about 20 minutes. The veggies will render some moisture out and it's gonna become a little saucier. Sloppy joe, sloppy joe, yeah. This smells so good. And there's really only one way to serve it up. On a plain white bun is how I like it. You know, sloppy joe is meant to be sloppy, so pile it on. And see, I always serve it with these kind of chips, because as you eat it and it falls out, then you've got a vessel to scoop up the leftovers. This is everything. It's everything. They just don't make things like they used to, guys. TV shows, music, dinners. It's sloppier than I remember. This recipe is perfectly balanced of sweet and tangy, and my favorite part is when it kind of starts making that bun a little bit soggy. The bun absorbs the flavor of the sauce. Then you take your chip with all the leftovers. That's a perfect bite. Sometimes I like to just put the chips directly on it. We're just having too much fun over here. Y'all should have like 90s week at your house and make all these recipes. Random things were considered fancy in the 90s. One of those being flank steak. I'm doing my mom's marinated flank steak pinwheels. These are actually her friend Kathy's pinwheels, but my mom always made them. Shout out Kathy. See, your flank steak, the fibers are running this way. You have to cut against that, so the opposite way. That way your meat is not too tough. So I'm gonna cut this flank steak into just thin strips. And I think flank steak used to be like a cheaper cut. Flank steak is also pretty lean. It's a leaner cut of steak. And what I also love is that you're gonna get a bunch of slices out of this. So this 2 to 2.5 pound flank steak is going to feed a lot of people. All right, so you can wrap them into pinwheels before or after you marinate them. I like to do it afterwards, that way the marinade kind of just really seeps into the whole piece. So take all of your steak, and especially if you are, you wanna do this in advance and take it to the lake or the beach. This is easy to pack in your cooler. But for this recipe, we know the flank steak is our fancy star, but this marinade is what it's all about. Like I said, the flank steak is leaner, so you're gonna add in some fat, good bit of what they called salad oil. I'm gonna guess that's vegetable or canola oil. To that, you go in with soy sauce, also adding some green onion. couple cloves of garlic, a little bit of ginger, and I know they use dried ginger. Couple tablespoons of vinegar. It just said vinegar. My mom said she always used apple cider. And then a couple tablespoons of honey. So you've seen me make marinades before, and you know that this one has all the components. It's got the fat, it's got the acid, it's got the salty, and it's got the sweet. That's it. So I'm just gonna blend this up and pour it over the steak. Now listen, I know sometimes I'm like, the recipe says this, but you can do this. The recipe says this has to marinate for at least 24 hours, and I'm telling you it has to marinate for at least 24 hours. I've tried to rush it, and it's just not as good. It doesn't taste like Mom's. Get it all in there. You can even freeze it like this if you want to. Get all the air out, let it go 24 to 48 hours. Did one 24 hours ago. As you can see, it looks different. The color has changed. It has absorbed all that marinade. Okay, so here's what we're working with. Here's how you do it. You get you a piece out and you roll it into a pinwheel. And just stick a toothpick in it, and we have the cutest, most flavorful bites of steak you're gonna have. These become so tender, I promise you. I mean, it is like a filet mignon. I'm just gonna do a grill pan, but this is a fun thing to do when the weather's warm, to do outside on the grill. Something different and a good way to entertain a crowd for not a ton of money. The flavor of a grill plus the marinade, perfection. You want it to be hot. We don't have to cook the inside so much, just like any steak. So you just want like good sears, and they don't take long to cook at all. And because we have them in the pinwheel, it's easy to control the temperature. You're not gonna overcook them versus if you just left them in the strips. Pinwheels are the way to go. Kathy knew what she was doing. The sugar and the honey is gonna help really caramelize this outside and get all that extra flavor. Don't these look delish? All that good color. This might not have been on everyone's 90s table, but it was on mine, and I'm happy to share it with you. To me, this is like the perfect entertaining meal, so I'm gonna serve it up on a platter. Now, as it settles, like when you take it off the grill, it makes its own little juice right here. You want that. You want that to serve it with. And then sprinkle with a little more green onion. For a side, I just wanted something 90s. Some au gratin potatoes. From scratch? I think not. From a box. I was very gourmet back then, as you can see. You were going to be the hit of the night when you serve this up. Cuts like butter. Takes me back. I don't think I can explain the level of flavor that is in this little pinwheel. It is by far the most tender flank steak you'll ever have. The way the marinade seeps through the meat by cutting it against the grain and then letting it hang out overnight. I would also like to know, has anyone ever had these from the 90s? Let's try potato for old time's sake. This unpretentious yet delicious 90s dinner, it's 5 stars. You know, when I give you a range of recipes, I always like to include something for Taco Tuesday. So my final trick, taco salad from the 90s, okay? So that means it has to be in one of these bowls. Now these tacos, and what is iconic of the 90s is that they are probably the most unauthentic taco situation there is. Okay, so you start by just making your taco meat, however you like to make taco meat. I like to cook it crumbled with onion in there to kind of help start the flavor. And then because it's the 90s and because it's convenience, we are using the taco packet. And in with the packet of water, there is something about the smell of this stuff. It is a throwback. Even though we have everything to make it, when you put your own spices in here, it doesn't have the same smell. So we're just gonna let that simmer for a second. Turn off the heat and stir in the beans. When it comes to beans on a salad, I just feel like in the 90s, any kind of salad, you gotta use kidney beans. Now let's make us a taco salad. There's only one lettuce in the 90s, iceberg. You know, back then we weren't worried about, the nutrition level of everything. We just went for taste. And iceberg is crunchy and makes the perfect taco salad. When I do my iceberg, I like to wash it and then put it in the fridge. That way it gets a little crunchier. All right, taco shell time. I can already tell you, this is not the way they used to be. They used to be bigger than this. All right, you gotta pop these in the oven for about 5 minutes. Here we go. Going back and forth with, does meat go down first or does lettuce go down first? I feel like I used to put the meat down first because then it kind of like flavors the edible shell at the bottom. All right, lettuce, some diced tomato has to go on. We also are a big fan of black olives in our house on this kind of thing. Cheese. You know I like to shred my own cheese, but we didn't. We didn't in the 90s. You buy this and you put this on. A little dollop of sour cream. I gotta have pickled jalapenos. That's how you get closer to the perfect bite. For the sake of the 90s, we're going in with the Catalina. I give to you the iconic 90s taco salad. You go in with your fork and you know what you come out with, the perfect bite. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know what this tastes like. I don't really have to tell you, but you want to hate the Catalina dressing, but you can't. That's how you really eat the salad. Tear off the shell and you eat it like nachos. Mm-hmm. Y'all are gonna want to make this one, and we might create a movement to where they are forced to bring back these taco shells in every store. This whole salad is a perfect bite of the 90s. Have I taken you back? There are a lot more dinners I could create from this era or from another decade. If I've missed anything, let me know. This was just fun. I love the 90s.